All right, welcome back to another episode of Up and Down with Sam. It is episode 6. We've made it halfway through season 1, which is exciting. Today we have a special set of guys with us. Noah's back. He was very focused on his March Madness episode. And then we got Liam Johnston with us, and Liam's going to give a little intro about himself and why you should care what he says or listen to what he says about March Madness. And then we're going to jump right in. So Liam, all you.
Thanks for having me. I'm a 4-year player at Keene State College. Played in the tournament, Division III tournament, 3 years. My first 3 years, made it to 2 Sweet 16s. Lost in the second round to the eventual champions Trinity last year. Then coming off a great career, just made another LEC championship. Ended up losing that game for 20-win seasons. And then my uncle was in Division I coaching for a few decades, and I'm trying to do the same thing. So that's all you need to know about me.
Cool. Love to have him. We've
Hometown
known
kid.
Liam for a long time. Yeah. So excited to have you both. This is going to be a March Madness focused and special. Outside of the fact that I predicted Cam Young to win last week, and Noah was right there with his Ludwig Gobert pick. Noah, you got any comments on that?
No, it was too bad. I thought I had it for sure. I almost sent a premature text on Saturday with when he was up 4 through 54 holes, but of course that went up in flames real fast. So got a top 5, better than Dr. Timmer's Scotty Scheffler pick, but
True that. Yep. So we're going to jump right into March Madness, and that's what it's going to be the whole way. So we're going to start with just our instant reaction, our buzzer beaters. We're going with Duke and Florida. Got hosed. What did you guys think of their bracket draws?
I mean, I think that Duke is fine. I think that they've been the best team all year. That is a gauntlet. There's the coaching matchups. There's eventually going to be 5 Hall of Famers, Hall of Fame coaches in that East region. But I don't think that they're going to be all that worried, especially in the first 2 rounds. I think that Ohio State and TCU could both give them a game. But Patrick Gomba looks like he's going to be back for that first weekend, which is big for them, big center for them. And then Caleb Foster, obviously, is not going to be there until at least the Final Four.
Right.
And then Florida, I mean, they're coming off the national championship last year. There could be some potential matchups that, Vanderbilt in the Sweet 16, if that happens. And then Houston, obviously, which is the national championship last year. Those could be some tests for Florida, but I think that they have a lot of continuity and a lot of roster continuity that they have back from last year. So I think they'll be just fine.
All right.
Yeah.
Noah?
Yeah, I think similar to what Liam said, I think Duke will be fine. I think I'd be more upset if I was a UConn fan getting that draw as a 2 seed, especially as the top 2 seed, having to go through like the likes of Michigan State, UCLA, just to go and try to play Duke. So I think Duke will be okay. That 4-5 game will be interesting, which we'll get into later. But Florida, on the other hand, like having to play Vanderbilt again after just playing them, the week prior in a potential Sweet 16 rematch, getting the finals rematch from last year in the Elite Eight if they get that far. I think they definitely the 2 toughest paths for the 1 seed to get to the Final Four, I'd say. But I think Duke will be all right.
Not to mention that Sweet 16 and Elite Eight is in Houston.
Right, exactly.
Another thing to pay attention to.
Crazy.
Yeah.
Crazy draw for the defending champs, but I mean that's what it takes to repeat. So
Yeah, I would agree. I think Florida got the short end of this stick. Even second round, Bennett Sturts in Iowa is not something to mess around with. He's a player. We'll talk about him more later, but they're going to have to play some really tough games. And then Duke, they're the best team, so you got to give them the upper hand. But, like St. John's has got to be the best 5 seed, I think. So it could get testy for Duke early. But on the other side of that coin, you got Arizona and Michigan who get that other side of the bracket as 1 seeds. And to be honest, I think they're in good shape. I think they both got great draws. What do you guys think?
Yeah, I'll go first on this one, but I think honestly, I'm a little like you'll see later like who I end up picking to win, but I think Arizona's honestly got a scarier Sweet 16 than any of the other 1 seeds with the potential of facing either Wisconsin or Arkansas. Like those have been 2 of the hottest teams down the stretch, and if they weren't in Arizona's bracket, were going to be two of my favorite, 4 or 5 seeds to get to the Final Four. So, not to mention Utah State is got to be the best 9 and the most favorable 9-8 matchup. Like for me, that was the easiest one to pick, Utah State Villanova. So I think Arizona is personally the best team in the country. We'll get into more later, but their draw is kind of sneaky difficult. And then Purdue just strung together their best week of the year, and they just have them waiting in the Elite Eight. So that'll be interesting. And then Michigan, I think Michigan got the best draw out of anyone in terms of who's in their path and like what's available in the bracket. I mean, Texas Tech, they wouldn't be a 5 seed if Toppin was still available, but to like have their first team All-American not there, as well as Alabama, which another thing we'll get into later. Their second best player, Aiden Holloway, dealing with some legal issues at the moment in Tuscaloosa. So definitely more favorability for Michigan. But yeah, Arizona's sneaky hard.
Yeah, I would have to agree with that. We'll get into my picks as well later, but I think that game is, I think that first 4 game, first round, second round are in San Diego for them. So they'll be right at home basically. And then Utah State, like you said, I think they should, their coach was saying thought that they were going to be a 6 or 7 seed. I mean, that's a tough game for Arizona, but I think they're one of the best teams in the country. They have been all year, minus that 1 week where they lost 2 games in a row. I don't think that they should be worried until they get to that potential matchup with Wisconsin and Arkansas, who are 2 of the hottest teams in the country, like you said. And then Michigan, I think that if Georgia were to win that 8-9 game against St. Louis, I think that that's an easier matchup for Michigan. Just because they can deal with the bigs, but I think that St. Louis poses more of a threat because we've seen in their 2 losses this year, 3 losses now, that if you spread them out and shoot a lot of threes, they could be beaten. And I think that that's the recipe for St. Louis if they were to win that game. Obviously, we got some Michigan fans here, and so I'll get into more of them later. But I think that could pose a threat for them. And then and that Alabama, I mean, they don't look great. And then that 5 seed there, Texas Tech without Toppin. Yeah, without Toppin, I mean, they're a different team. They're still pulled together some great wins in the Big 12 without him. But I think that they could be beaten in the first round against Akron. I think that's a potential game that Akron is one of the best mid-majors in the country. They have been for the last few years now. They spread you out. They score a lot of points. They put pressure on the rim. They put pressure from the 3-point line. But yeah, the Michigan and Arizona definitely got the easier paths to the second weekend for sure.
Yeah, I agree. I think the Purdue 2 seed, Gonzaga 3 seed is the easiest 2-3 combo in my opinion. So I think Arizona got away with one there. But they also have, like you guys said, Wisconsin, Arkansas are legit. And so moving into that Michigan section of the bracket, we got 2 teams to talk about here. First of all, Miami, Ohio playing a play-in game. How do we feel about that after the 31-1 season?
I think it's great for them. I think that them just getting in is great for basketball. I think that they've had an incredible regular season, and then obviously losing to UMass in the MAC tournament, not great. And they came down, they won a lot of close games throughout the regular season, and then it looked kind of like they were just going to win another close game, make to the semifinals, ended up losing. And then I think the committee chair came on TV on CBS, ESPN, and he said that they were in before the other last 4 in teams. But then when you looked at their resume, they were technically the last team in. But I think it's good for them, and I don't love their draw tomorrow against SMU. I think SMU is really, really good. They have 3 really, really good players. So we'll see what happens in that game tomorrow. But I think it's just good for them that they got in, and I'm happy for them.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would agree. I was on the Miami, Ohio side of get them in. I don't need to see 500 Power 4 teams play again. But I think they certainly made it hard on themselves by losing to UMass. So, like,
I agree.
I think their spot kind of shows, like, the committee had them in, had their respect for them, and then when you go and lose to, like, the 250th team in Ken Palm in the first round of the tournament, like, we'll sneak you in, but you're going to have to earn your way in. So I think it's good. I think it's good for basketball. tomorrow when they play, it'll probably be the most tuned into first
Yeah.
four game in a while. So I think it's good.
That's what I was gonna say. You get them in a first four game. You get people watching early in the week. I think that's important for the tournament as a whole, and I think it's a good spot for them in the sense of if they go on to win the MAC, I think they get probably a 7 or maybe playing an 8-9 game. But just based on that loss to UMass, you had to put them either a low seed or in that play-in match. So I think they ended up where they should be. I think the committee got that one
Yeah.
right. But we'll see what they can do. SMU, very athletic, play fast. So we're gonna see how that ends up. And then sticking with this side of the bracket, we got the breaking news: Alabama, Aiden Holloway gets caught with 2.1 pounds of marijuana, drug paraphernalia, and cash. So all indications pointing to a drug dealer. But he got kicked off campus. I don't know if is he out on bail yet. I knew the bail
Yep.
was like $5,000.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay, so out.
Yeah,
He's out. He's out of jail, which is a good start. But the coach said that they were planning to not have him. They were game planning around the fact that he wouldn't be playing. So that really, I mean, obviously it kills Alabama. And again, we talk about getting a good draw. It really helps Michigan.
Yeah, I mean, I believe in innocent until proven guilty. So maybe it was just recreational use and he was just, stocking up for the year. But what do I know what's going on in Tuscaloosa? But yeah, I mean that's a pretty big loss for them. And like I saw something today, Alabama's on like spring break this week, so he doesn't get his like school hearing until next week. So he's definitely out for the first weekend, if not the second weekend. So I mean, I got nothing else but that. It's a tough blow for Alabama. It's good for Michigan.
Mean,
questionable
Liam, he couldn't wait a couple
made.
weeks.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, 17 points a game, 30 minutes a game, 17 points a game, 30 minutes a game. Been there, junior. It's just tough blow for Alabama. They got a tough matchup against Hofstra, so we'll see what happens with that. I know that's going to be a popular sleeper pick, Cinderella type win. Yep. So yeah, it's just unfortunate for Alabama. Another thing to note, this is certainly not the first time that somebody from Alabama has been in the news with the law. So could we have another like Georgia football situation going on here down in Tuscaloosa?
Yeah.
I don't know.
The Georgia of NCAA basketball, maybe.
Yeah.
I mean, Nate Oates, known to run a real tight ship down there. So,
I mean, imagine that coaching meeting today or Monday. You get back after the SEC tournament, you're prepping, you watch the Sunday show, all of a sudden you get that call. Yeah, one of your best players? Yeah, he's arrested. He's in jail right now. I mean, what a mess.
I mean, it's been a tough year for Bama with the whole I'm blanking on the center's name now, but the former G League center Bediako. He's in, then he's out. They get bounced early by Ole Miss in the tournament, and then your second best player one of the best backcourts in the country with him and Phylon, and then unfortunately no longer. So yeah, we'll see what happens with them.
Yeah, I mean, if they make it to the second weekend, we'll see if he's back. But I aim to lean on the side of he won't be based on some of the reports that have come out. So we're going to see how that develops. And so we're going to walk through kind of the regions of the bracket. And so the way we're going to do it is we're going to have a favorite who we think is going to win. Everyone's going to pick a winner. We're going to have a game, an upset watch. So our pick for an upset out of each bracket. Then we're going to have a dark horse team that can make that classic March Madness Cinderella story that everyone's looking for. And then we're going to have the player to watch in that region. So we're going to start with that East region. And we're going to kick it off with Liam. Liam, who you got to win?
I mean, it's obvious. I think that Duke's been the best team all year. I know they have a lot of injuries right now, but I don't see that stopping them. I think that St. John's game could certainly be interesting. Them or Kansas getting to the Sweet 16. I have both of them advancing in the first game, and I have St. John's advancing to the Sweet 16 to play Duke. And then for my upset, and my Cinderella, sort of. I could see South Florida making a little run to the
Okay.
second weekend, potentially even to the Elite Eight. And then I also have UCLA. They had a great Big Ten tournament, making it to the semifinals. I could see them knocking off UConn and making it to the Elite Eight as well. And then the best player in the region and who's probably going to win every single award this upcoming award season is Cam Boozer. He's been the best player all year, I think. He's a dominant force, and I think he's going to have a long, long career in the NBA.
Okay. He plays NBA basketball with all his foul baiting. But Noah, you can go ahead. What you got for the East region?
Oh, take it easy on Boozer. I'm a Boozer guy. He's the next Al Horford. Right when Al's on his last leg, Boozer's gonna come in and fill the role. So yeah, I bounced back and forth with this. I landed on Duke. I mean, I am nervous about them without Caleb Foster. I mean, it's set every single year, but the tournament's won on guard play, and like when you lose a veteran guy like that, plays great defense, facilitates. It definitely makes me more skeptical and like more like I feel like they're more susceptible to being beat by a team like Kansas, like who's a player that we'll talk about in a second. But I've ended up rolling with them. I think they'll get out of there. The other team I was thinking about was Michigan State, but like Liam just mentioned, I am worried about the South Florida team in the 11th spot, and I'm not going to pick a team that I think can lose in the round of 32. So I'm going to roll with Duke. In terms of upset watch, just spoke about it. Liam did too. I think South Florida has the makings of a team that can cause some chaos, especially for Louisville, who's been an underachieving team all year. They're hot, they're cold, they don't play great defense. I think South Florida's coming in playing well, and I think they could even cause some issues in Michigan State. So they're my upset pick in this side of Louisville. But my dark horse team is actually UCLA, and I think if I'm Dan Hurley, I am so upset that this is the 7th seed that I have to deal with. Mick Cronin confirmed that Dent's 100% and Bilodeau is going to be back. Bilodeau didn't even play in the Big Ten tournament, and they still gave Purdue issues. They beat Michigan State earlier. So I think they're playing really well right now. They've had their ups and downs, and I've been on Mick Cronin and not a fan of his, but clearly the team's rallied around the turmoil that he's kind of caused, honestly, and maybe they accepted his apology. Maybe it was sincere. But they're playing really good basketball right now. I think they're a bad matchup for UConn, and I think they're a bad matchup for Michigan State, like we saw last week. So I think they're definitely a dark horse team. And then my player to watch, I go with Boozer, but I actually think I'll give two people. I think the most important player in this side, believe it or not, is Darren Peterson, because he's a guy that can flip a game on its head and beat like a team like Duke, who is the better team. But we've seen spurts where the guy can just put up 20 points in 10 minutes. So I think he's definitely the player to watch. And then Dominique Daniels from Cal Baptist. We're talking about Darren Peterson, but I mean, Dominique Daniels averages 24 points a game for Cal Baptist. Kansas scares me. Like, I would love to pick the Kansas Duke upset, but just like Michigan State, like, I don't want to pick a team that can lose in the first round, which I think the way that Kansas goes about their business, and they're very up and down, that's a game that if Daniels gets hot, like, watch out. So that's my East preview. What do you got, Sam?
I'm going completely away from both you. And this is the theme of my bracket this year. My theme of the bracket is the ACC stinks. And so that's going to drive a lot of my picks. And so I have Duke getting knocked out by St. John's come the Sweet 16. I don't think they have – I just think the Big East is physical. I think they execute well. I think Duke, again, a little guard play issue. But I think St. John's will be able to deal with Boozer down low. And so I think they're going to take him out of the game. And I really don't think that Duke is making it past the Sweet 16. And I'll throw another one out there for you. If you want a big upset of the tournament, watch TCU to come in, beat Ohio State, and give Duke a run for their money. That's my bonus feature. But now looking at upset, same thing.
sec.
ACC.
See,
Oh boy. Go
I
ahead.
think TCU has more of a chance to give Duke struggles than St. John's. I think if Duke got St. John's, they'd be able to match that physicality underneath, especially if you're gonna have to pronounce the center's name for me, Liam.
Zuby Ejiofor? Oh,
No,
Patrick
not
Gungba?
Zuby.
Patrick
Yeah.
Gungba?
Yeah.
Like I think they can match Zuby underneath, and like once you take Zuby out of the game, I know Bryce Hawkins has been playing better, but anyways, go back to your stuff.
Well, we're on Zuby. He's my player of this bracket. I think he's gonna dominate. Player of the year, Big East, defensive player of the year. He's an absolute beast. I love it. I love a little Boozer Zuby matchup. I think it's big TV. So that skips to my player. In terms of who I think is actually going to win this bracket, I think it's UConn. I'm sticking with the Big East. The only game that scares me is UCLA. I think Noah hit on all those points. I think UCLA is primed for an upset, and that's also why they're my dark horse team. So I'm kind of banking on one of those two teams out of that game. I think UCLA could easily make a Final Four run, but I also think if I'm picking, I just think UConn is good. They got 5 starters, 5 guys who are all in double digits. They spread the ball. I think they have all aspects of the game. They got multiple guards who can handle. Mullins is an absolute baller. They still got, Terrace Reed. He's a beast down low. So I think they're a very complete team, and I think people are overlooking them, which I think Dan Hurley will use to their advantage. And then when I look at upset, I'm with you guys. I think South Florida over Louisville. The one thing you guys didn't talk about was the coach of South Florida. His dad has never seen him coach a game. And because it will be in Buffalo, I believe it was. Yeah.
Yep.
Because it's going to be in Buffalo, his dad has dementia, so he can't travel. So because it's in Buffalo, the dad's going to be able to come and watch his son coach South Florida. And I just think that's your Cinderella story. That's March, right? Like that's the story. It gives me like Loyola Chicago vibes. So I think that's my upset pick for this. So I'm with you there, and that also goes along with my ACC stinks. So I don't even think I want to give Liam a chance to respond to that. The ACC stinks.
I'll just add one thing. USF's coach, he's from Western New York, and I'm a Twitter rat. I've been on top of the coaching carousel in Division I. Bring him up to Buffalo. I know Jerry McNamara is getting a lot of steam at Syracuse, but I think that Brian Hodgson is eventually going to be named Syracuse head coach in about 2 weeks once they lose either in the second round or the Sweet 16, because they ain't losing on Thursday. I'll tell you that.
I love it.
Yeah, that's right.
I love it.
Isn't Providence in on him too?
There's a lot of teams in on him, but Western New York, obviously from that area, I think that Syracuse is going to go after him. But yeah, so that's I'll wait for the ACC talk because I got something coming up here about the ACC.
I like that. And so now we're gonna hop sides. We're gonna go to the west side, and this is your Arizona side. And I'm gonna start because you guys took all my picks. Well, not all of them, but a couple. So I'm gonna start this time. Arizona is obviously the likely favorite, but I'm going with Gonzaga. I think they're a weak 3 seed, but for some reason, I got this feeling that they're going to come out of there. I mean, they're 30-3. I know they play in the West Coast Conference, which isn't the strongest conference. But I look at a team like Purdue. I know they had the best week of their season last week, but I still think they're fraudulent. I'm not in on Purdue. And then I scroll to the top, and Arizona's going to have to go through a tough Utah State team, Wisconsin or Arkansas, who we talked about were some of the hottest teams. And then I really think they're going to have some tight games, and then I think they're going to lose in that Elite 8 matchup to Gonzaga. And I think Gonzaga is going to return to the Final Four after a couple of years of missing it, I believe. And then I got Wisconsin. That's my upset pick. I think they're going to beat Arkansas, and then they're going to go on and beat Arizona. I don't even think Arizona's going to have a chance at the Final Four. I think when you look at Wisconsin's resume, they have proven that they beat good teams. You look at Michigan, MSU, they beat Illinois twice, beat Purdue. And so when you look at some of those wins, I just think they're one of those teams that they're almost like the Brooks Koepka of basketball. Like they show up for the big ones, and then like they're battling it out with Oregon in like the toilet bowl randomly on the West Coast at 11 at night. But like for the big games, there's a team that shows up, and that leads me into my player of this region, and it's Nick Boyd. He's an absolute hooper. He's got the March Madness experience, and he's the type of guard, like when I watch him and when I think of March Madness, I think of like Kemba Walker, Trey Burke type, take over a game, knock off top seeds, and just talk crap all along the way. So I think he's going to be the guy to watch in this bracket, in this region. And then I'll give you my Cinderella too. I think Missouri's got a chance out of the bottom side of that bracket. I think if you're looking to pick a Cinderella, Missouri's a good team. They beat good teams. They have a win against Florida, Kentucky, Vanderbilt, Tennessee. They've got great wins. Again, I think the ACC stinks, so I think they're going to handle Miami with ease. And then they're going to go face that fraudulent Purdue team, who I think they'll beat, and then their biggest matchup will be against the Zags. So that's what I got for the West region. We're going to jump Liam and go to Noah, and then we'll let Liam finish out this side.
We have very different brackets. I'll just start by saying that. Like, either I'm going to come in last and you're going to come in first, or you're going to come in last. And because I am not with you on much of the West here. I think Arizona's going to win. I said this earlier. I think they're the best team in the country. I think they're the most complete team. They can go 8 deep. They have elite guard play, they have elite front court play, and then they bring guys off the bench that can shoot, and that's like the formula right there to March. So I really like them. The only thing that scares me is the history of Arizona basketball recently and their March Madness. And Tommy Lloyd, honestly, like he's got to get over the hump here. And I think I'm predicting that this is the year that he does it. And I think this is the team that does it. I've watched them all year long and just continue to be impressed. I mean, that Iowa State-Arizona game last week was ridiculous. And for them to win that game, I mean, Iowa State was playing out of their mind. They shot like 50% from three, couldn't miss. And then Arizona responded by not missing themselves. So I think they're the best team in the country, most complete team right now. So I have them winning. My upset watch is Wisconsin as well, so I'm with you there, Sam.
Okay. Yep.
I think you kind of hit on those points, and I just, like we've been talking about, elite guard play, like Boyd and Blackwell, and then they got guys like Raff that can, like we saw against Michigan, make 6 threes in a row out of nowhere. So they certainly have. I wouldn't even consider them a Cinderella team because I think they're just good. I wouldn't consider them a Cinderella team, but in terms of like a upset watch team for Arizona, and a dark horse team, that's my pick. Arkansas is really, really scary too. So I'm really, really kind of upset that Akoff and Arkansas have to play against Wisconsin in the second round. Mentioned that earlier, but just wanted to state that again. Those were two of my favorite teams to watch this year. Two teams kind of built for March. I know they not the best defensive teams, but just elite guard play and March experience. But I'm also going to put Wisconsin on a little bit of upset watch because you kind of mentioned how they struggled with teams like Oregon, and it's kind of based on their play style and like how many threes they shoot in a game. And, I mean, I'm not 100% sure where this game is being played, but like a team like High Point, like they're very similar to Wisconsin where they can get red hot. And so as much as I like Wisconsin, I'm going to put them on upset watch. I like Hawaii, and they're kind of a fun team to watch play defense, but I think Acuff's going to go for like 40 because they play a no help defense, which is really unique. They allow like the least amount of assists per game in the country. And so, but that plays right in Arkansas's hands. So I'm not going to put them on upset watch. And I'll wrap it up with player to watch. You said Nick Boyd. He was mine too. I'm going to switch it to Acuff. I think he's been my favorite player to watch in the country, to be honest, outside of my Michigan homer, my Michigan guys. But he's elite, and he's another guy, like I said, with Darren Peterson that can, on any given weekend, beat whoever is in his way. So that's my preview. We'll see what Liam's got for us here.
Well, I will say it's a good thing I wrote 4 people down for best player because you said 2 of them. Anyways, my winner, even though you said that they were fraudulent, even though they just won 4 games in 4 days at the Big Ten tournament, is Purdue. I think that what they did at the Big Ten tournament was really special. I think that they have the best continuity of players back for the last 3 years now. Those guys have been in a national championship. Those guys have played in the national tournament for 4 years now, losing to a 16 seed in Fairleigh Dickinson, making it all the way to the national championship and losing to probably the best team arguably that I've seen in my life watching college basketball in UConn. And then last year losing in Indianapolis in a heartbreaker. And I think that this team is poised to make a deep run, and I'll certainly get into them later. For my upset, I struggled with this one. I can see High Point definitely beating Wisconsin. I think this region is a lot of chalk here.
Agreed.
But the biggest one that I had was Missouri over Miami. This game's being played in St. Louis.
And the ACC
It's basic.
stinks.
Well, okay, I'll get into that in a little bit here. This game's a home game for Missouri. Miami's traveling all that way. And then my Cinderella, which I'll get back to, and they're about to tip off here in about 30 minutes. NC State. Do not be surprised. I am a big fan of the 11 seeds this year, and I do not like any of the 6 seeds. NC State, this is a rematch against Texas. They lost that game by 5. I think it's really hard to beat a team 2 times. It's really, really hard to beat a team 3 times. I think NC State's going to win that game. And I think that they easily could beat BYU. It's a game. NC State flies the pace. They're one of the fastest teams in the country. They're long. They're athletic. They press. They shoot a lot of threes. They attack the rim. They have great ball pressure. And then best player, Acuff. I mean, he's by far, I think, the best player, specifically this season. I think AJ is another player to watch. I think that NC State matchup could be tough for him, especially without Saunders.
Richie.
I think that's a huge, that's a huge blow for BYU. I mean, that's sad. They were playing really well when he was on the court. It's too bad to see what happened to him. And then nobody mentioned Brandon Burries out of Arizona, which I think he is one of the best guards in the country. And then I'm gonna sit here. I don't know when Purdue plays. I think it's Thursday. If it's not, it's Friday, obviously. I'm gonna text you guys about 5 minutes into that game, and I'm gonna say there's a new assist leader in college basketball, and Braden Smith will easily, probably 5 minutes into that game, will have 3 assists and break Bobby Hurley's record. He's been here. He controls the team. He controls the pace. He knows when he needs to attack. He knows when he needs to find his teammates. He's a special player. And I think he's going to lead them into the Final Four in Indianapolis, which will be pseudo home games for Purdue. But yeah, that's about all I got for the West region.
I got 2 points to wrap us up here. Actually, 3. The first one is, this is my problem with Arizona. I think in that Wisconsin or Arkansas matchup, they are going to be playing against the best player in the game. I don't think Arizona will have the best player on the floor, which scares me, especially as a 1 seed. So that's my point on Arizona. Then when it comes to old heads watching basketball, they are going to hate the High Point Wisconsin game. I mean, there might be 123s chucked up. I mean, I could see a stretch in that game where they're like, I'm going with 12 possessions in a row where a 2-pointer is not attempted. That's what I'm going with. I think they're just going to chuck. I mean, High Point's got that kid who only shot two 2-pointers the whole year. And I don't know. I just think the older generation of basketball viewers are going to absolutely hate that game. So take my advice. Just don't even turn it on. You're not going to like it.
I can't wait for that game.
And then finally, we get to Purdue. I want to close on Purdue. Braden Smith he came into the year as the National Player of the Year candidate. And so he had a little bit of an inflated ego, right? He thought he was the man. Comes out, he thinks he's the man. He starts chucking it up all the time. He realizes he's not the man and gets back to his passing habits, right? Which is great. Awesome. Good point guard. I think this Big Ten tournament actually hurt him. Watching him play Michigan, he shot it and he was making everything. Like, I give him a ton of credit for that. But I think he's going to come out in their first big game, which I think is going to be against Gonzaga, or you could even say BYU. And I think he's going to think he's the man, and he's going to chuck up a good old 5 for 20, and they're going to lose that game. And he's going to turn it over 5 times, 5 to 8 times, and I think it's going to be another meltdown for Purdue. So look for Braden Smith to melt down. That's my prediction out of this region.
Wow.
A Braden Smith meltdown.
Yeah, you go, Liam.
I'm going to pause on that note. I'm not going to say anything about what you just said. I will say that Howard has won against UMBC. UMBC had a shot at the buzzer, did not go. 86-83 final.
Okay.
The Retrievers.
The Retrievers let me down. Jim Ferry, Keene State alum, went to school with my dad.
That's too bad.
What can you do?
Yeah, hate to see it.
But anyways, I'll let you get back to whatever Braden Smith comment you were making.
The Braden Smith meltdown.
I'm not a Braden Smith, like, as a Michigan fan. I'm glad that he's gone. I can't stand playing against him, which is why I think the slander is kind of crazy. I mean, he's a problem maker.
I told you what I'm telling you. Inflated ego, turn it over. He's going to have like a 5 for 20, 5 for 22 game, and they're going to lose. He's got to remember that he's good at passing. He's got to share the rock.
I'll say one thing. That's all I'm going to say. As someone who's been in a basketball locker room at halftime in the NCAA tournament, I can assure you that things are said in there that shifts players' mindset. And I think that being there with Fletcher Lawyer and Trey Kaufman-Wren for all these years, he trusts them. He'll listen to them. If that's the case, I think that those players will check him in that locker room. And I think that they're going to be just fine.
Okay. He might have to switch his jersey too. He played better once he switched his jersey.
45, baby.
All right. We're out of the top half of the bracket. We're moving to the south here. For reference, this is the Florida. Florida's the number 1 seed here. We're going to start with, I don't think, Noah, have you started one yet?
No, I'm ready to go.
We're going to let you start one. You got the south.
All right. So like Liam mentioned earlier, the Elite 8 and Sweet 16 are being played in Houston, Texas. And so I'm going to stick with the home team, and I have Houston making it out of this region. I really like Florida. I just think Houston's guard play is better, and I think that's going to be the difference. Florida's front court is elite. We've seen it. We saw it last year. But I think them not having the guard play of like Walter Clayton and what was his name? Elijah Martin. Is that his name?
Yes.
And Aberdeen this year is going to hurt them when Boogie Fland and Xavier Lee are leading the charge. And both are very good players. Both are very capable. But, I mean, especially coming down the stretch, I know Florida won. They rattled off a lot of wins in the SEC. But their guard play, I mean, they could not shoot the ball at all. Like, I think that's going to come back to bite them. I think they're playing in Houston. I really like Kingston Flemings. And, like, I haven't really been on Houston at all this year, but I really kind of like how the bracket's set up for them. They've honestly struggled with teams that are on their same level. But I'm just kind of putting my trust in Kelvin Sampson and that guard play. And, you know, they're not the same, like, I feel like in the past, they're just the team that out hustles and just like beats you up for 40 minutes. They're not that same team, but I think their guard play is elevated, and I think that's going to get them to the Final Four. So I picked going with Houston right now. Upset watch, I got 2. Liam nailed it. I think this is the year of the 11 seed. I think I have every single 11 seed except for maybe I got to see how Miami, Ohio, SMU plays out. I think UNC. I mean, it really stinks that Caleb Wilson isn't playing. He tried to make it back, obviously a setback, and I think broke his finger while recovering from his broken hand. So that really stinks. I think VCU is good. A10 always provides a couple of good teams. I honestly haven't watched VCU a lot, but watched them a little bit in the A10 tournament, and I think I just think it's not UNC's year, unfortunately, due to the Caleb Wilson injury. And then I'll also put Nebraska on upset watch. Troy, I think, is a bad matchup for Nebraska. And I mean, not to mention they got skeletons in their closet. They've never won an NCAA tournament game. And so, I think Nebraska's on upset watch just to get through that game. I'd love to see Vanderbilt, Nebraska, because I think they're very similar, and that would be a great round of 32 matchup. But I'm gonna believe it when I see it with Nebraska. I think just watch out for Troy now.
Troy.
Hold on, let me
give me a break with Troy. Zero chance.
Zero chance.
You could start him at 20-0 and Nebraska would win that game.
Oh, wow. Watch. All right. Well, I'll be
20-0.
Yeah, we're going to clip. Watch out for a clip. I might get access to the account and clip that. Kyle, turn the TikTok camera on.
Kyle, turn the TikTok camera
on. But yeah, so those are my two upset picks. I don't really have a dark horse. I guess VCU could give Illinois issues, but I think the top 5 seeds in this region are a class above the rest of the region. So I'll just move on to a player to watch. I kind of went off the board here. I didn't go with best player because I think Flemings and Thomas Howe, or however you say his last name, Howe. I think that those
you
are.
You just said it the same way players. 3 times.
Yeah, Howe or Huff. Howe or Huff. Howe. Yeah. Okay. I think him and Flemings are the 2 best players on the 2 best teams, so I won't go chalk there. I went with TJ Powers. Shout out to the New England kid, killing it in Penn. I don't think that they're going to be able to run with Illinois and hang with them offensively, but if they were to, we saw that TJ Powers can put up 40-something points in the Ivy League. So he's a player to watch. And then I think the X factor for Houston is actually Emmanuel Sharp. He's been pretty brutal down the stretch here. But he's one of those guys that's been there for 4 years. I mean, heartbreaker last year in the NCAA tournament. And I feel like he's the type of guy that's going to make up for it in a big way. So he's my player to watch. I think he's going to get hot this tournament and help him get to the Final Four.
I like it. Liam, I'm going to go because based on how this episode's going, you're not going to like some of my picks. So I'm going to go and then let you wrap it up.
That's fine because you have to let me go the next region. That's fine.
Yeah. So I got Houston too. I was high on Florida coming in, and then seeing their draw, I just think they just have such a tough road. And being played in Houston, I think that's huge. It's just going to be a straight red out. So I think Houston's going to come out of this bracket. Same thing that Noah touched on. Flemings and Sharp, great guard play. I think, they're coming off that national championship loss. I think they're hunting that rematch. I think they would like to see that rematch, and I think they would win the rematch. So I'm going with them to come out of the bracket. When I look at an upset, I look in my region for the ACC teams that are ranked highly. And so where does that bring me? Oh, that brings me to North Carolina. Unfortunately, Caleb Wilson breaks his finger in practice. That stinks, obviously. So I have them getting knocked off. I wouldn't, except for the fact that he's hurt. So I'll give the ACC 1 game there if he was healthy. But I think VCU's good. Again, solid A10 team. I think the A10 was pretty decently solid. And they're another team to watch from 3-point land. They shoot 36% as a team. I think they can get hot fast and kind of get off to a quick start and then never look back. And then my dark horse as well as my player, they tie in together. Give me Iowa. Bennett Sturts is an absolute dog. Straight bucket. He averages 20 points. He's 50% from the field. He's 38% from three, and he doesn't turn it over. And when you look at Clemson, you look at another, piss poor ACC team. And so I'm giving him the round 1 win. And I think he gives Florida a run for their money. Same type of thing as Boyd. I think he's a guard that can just take over. And so I would look out for Iowa in the second round knocking off Florida and then giving Vanderbilt a good game, or Nebraska. I think it will be Vandy. But I think they're a team that can make a deeper run based on, again, that guy who can just take over in March. So that's what I got. Liam, I'm going to hand it to you. What you got for us?
I'll give you a cool story first.
All right.
Ben McCollum, Bennett Sturts used to be at Northwest Missouri State. After my sophomore year, we were at a tournament. It contained teams from Division III and Division II. They were actually at the same tournament as me. Got to meet them. Pretty cool experience. Bennett Sturts is, I guarantee you, he's going to go to a team in the NBA that I absolutely despise, probably the Miami Heat, and he's going to be a bone to pick with for the Celtics for the next 12, 15 years. He is an unbelievable
100%.
player. I'm going to say it just like you two. I think Houston comes out of this region. I think that they should cruise to victory in the first weekend. I think that matchup with St. Mary's, I think, will beat Texas A&M buckyball. And then St. Mary's and Houston play a pretty similar style, and I think Houston is just better. They have more talent. They play the style better. So I think that Houston comes out of that region. I think, like Sam said, I think they're looking forward to that rematch with Florida. I think that they will be really excited if that happens. And then upset, just like Noah said, I think Troy also has never won an NCAA tournament game. 2 teams have never won an NCAA tournament game. I think that Troy gets that done. I did not pick that in my bracket, but I could definitely see it happen. And then Cinderella, I had the 12 and 13 because I could see both of those teams making it to the Sweet 16. Troy and McNeese State. McNeese State won a game in the tournament last year. I could see them doing it again. Obviously, new coaching staff there this year. But they're a pretty dominant force in the Southland Conference, I believe. You can check me on that.
Sounds right.
That's a good poll.
But they dominated the tournament. But yeah, I think that McNeese could easily take care of Vanderbilt and then make it past Troy or Nebraska. I think that their style, they turn the ball over a lot. Not great from the 3-point range, but they put a lot of pressure on the rim. They have good players. They have athletes. And then I will say that my best player was Kingston Fleming. I think he's an unbelievable guard. But like Sam said, Bennett Sturts is certainly someone who we saw in the tournament last year at Drake. We're going to see him again on Friday or Thursday. And I think that he could make a lot of things happen for Iowa. And then Thomas Hawk, I think he leads Florida. I think their wings and their bigs are dominant. And I think that any team that comes up against them, and I think especially if they see Vanderbilt in the Sweet 16, I think that they would enjoy that rematch as well. Like if Vanderbilt just beat them. And then I'll give another one, Tyler Tanner out of Vanderbilt. Unbelievable guard. Controlled their team all year long. SEC all-conference player, I would expect, if it's probably been announced already, but I would expect him to be on the all-conference team. He's an unbelievable player. But yeah, that's all I got for the South region.
All right.
I'll add 2 quick things.
Yeah.
The one concern I have with Iowa is that they're going to foul out in like the first 20 minutes of an NCAA tournament game. The Big Ten at home, they're able to get away with like borderline assault. So we'll see how they manage that in the tournament. I mean, they did it last year with Drake. So, I mean, Coach McCollum definitely knows how to get it done. But watching them this year, I mean, there's a reason they were almost impossible to beat at home and struggled on the road, because when you go to Iowa, you're going to come away a different man. So that's one thing I'll add. And then the other thing was the interest, like McNeese. I also thought about them. I ended up going with Troy as my upset pick, but I mean, like Liam mentioned, like we'll see how Nebraska handles the pressure.
It's ridiculous.
You just wait. I didn't say I picked them, but Nebraska's on upset alert. But I think McNeese, they have like the number one turnover ratio in the country, and I mean that's an issue. And like the nice thing about Vanderbilt is that I mean their best player is their guard in Tyler Tanner, so like you got to hope that he'll be able to carry the load there and manage that. But I mean, you see that stat, that's always a green light for an upset pick when a team can control the turnover game like that. So. But yeah, that's all I got on the Midwest.
I'll be honest with you. The Troy, the fact that Troy was even mentioned on this podcast is heinous in itself. Nebraska is going to win that game by 40. Unless
Flip it. Kyle.
Yeah, seriously.
Unless they start at 20-0. Unless they said at 20-0 Troy. Then they'll win by 20. I'm telling you, I will put my 100% guarantee game of the entire weekend. Nebraska will beat Troy. I guarantee it. Troy, I mean, it's going to be a varsity versus JV scrimmage. Like, give me a break.
Wow.
This is going to be like if the intramural champions came up and the Keene State head coach wanted to work on some things headed into the weekend. Hey, bring up the intramural champs. Have them come play us.
Wow.
We'll spot them 20 points.
A lot of disrespect here, but we'll move on.
I'm just telling you.
I will say one thing. Even though your ACC slander is horrific, I do also have VCU over North Carolina. As I stated earlier, I am not a fan of the 6 seeds, and I love the 11 seeds. And I'm happy that VCU won the Atlantic 10 because if they didn't, apparently they were not going to get in, and they deserved to get in. They were one of the best teams in the Atlantic 10. They played very good non-conference strength of schedule, so I'm very happy that they got in, and I think they will take care of Carolina.
Yeah, I like that. All right, moving to the Midwest. Noah's got his Michigan stuff on. I think that was purposeful. We're going to give Liam the start.
Thank God.
Liam, what you got for us?
All right. I'm going to put you guys down a notch here. Although Michigan is very, very good, and I do have them making a little bit of a run. I have an ACC school coming out of this.
Oh.
And I have the quietest.
That is heinous. Don't give me Virginia.
The quietest 28-5 you've ever seen. It's University of Virginia. I think
because they get to play other bad ACC teams.
I think that they are just so solid. They have some serious guard play, which we've seen in every tournament that we've been alive for. Guard play really controls how far your team goes. And I mean, Elliot Cadeau, former University of North Carolina guard. We'll see what he brings to the table for your Wolverines. But I think that the guards from Virginia, they're going to pressure you. They're going to pick up full court. It's not the Virginia of Tony Bennett. This is the Virginia of Ryan Odom, and he's going to pick up, play full court. We saw it in the ACC tournament. They almost beat Duke. That was a rematch, which that's conference tournament game. That was tremendous game for Virginia. And I think Duke's the best team in the country, and coming in within 5-6 points to them was terrific performance for them. So I have them prevailing over Iowa State in the Sweet 16 and making it to the Final Four. Now, for my upset, I have two. Obviously, we talked about Alabama earlier. I think Hofstra they play very similar styles, and I think if Hofstra's hot that day and Alabama's cold that day, they could certainly beat them. And then I also have another one, SMU over Tennessee. Like I said, the 11 seeds. I think I like the 11 seeds a little bit more than I like the 6 seeds this year. Tennessee, I think Nate Ament, I believe is his name. He's back. He's good. He's good to go for the tournament, which he's an unbelievable player. He's going to be a lottery pick. But I think SMU, they have great guards. They have great wings. They'll be able to pick it up, play high pace. And then for my Cinderella, another one that you guys aren't going to like, which I already stated earlier.
Don't say St. Louis.
St. Louis to the Elite Eight. I could see it. I could see it happen. I stated earlier, the teams that have beaten Michigan have shot a lot of threes and made them on that day. Now, St. Louis has a tough matchup against Georgia. They're a tremendous team, have big physical 5 and 4 men that control the paint. They're the leading block per game in the in the country. Um, Now that game is certainly, I think that Michigan would favor better against Georgia in that game, just because of how big and physical Michigan is as well. But I could
Yep.
certainly see it. Um, and then obviously I'll go off the Michigan train here for my best player, which leads into my pick, Tez DeRitter, 6'10", overseas, plays a game, shoots stretch 5, 6'10", stretch the floor, um, score inside, bang with any of the bigs that Michigan has to offer. Um, and then I obviously said LeBaron Philon. He's an absolute bucket getter. He could definitely lead Alabama into a Sweet 16 by himself. And then I said Yaxel Lendeborg. I think he's just a difference maker, one of the best players in the country. And even though it's on Michigan, I think he still is one of the best players in the country.
Yeah. All right. So I'm going to go next. I got to paint a picture for the viewers here.
Oh boy.
Walking into like a AAU tournament. Liam, you played a bunch of AAU, right? You walk into the
Too
tournament
much.
and there are all these courts, right? Like they're all spread out. There's usually, there's got to be 10 to 20, depending on where you're at, right? You walk in and you're like, man, this doesn't seem right. This can't be right. It's like all these kids are short. They're missing layups. They're airballing threes. This can't be right. And you ask someone, oh, yeah, this is like the 12-year-old division. Oh, okay, the big boys are down there. That's what I think of when I think of the ACC. It's like, oh, they're the 12-year-old division. The big boys play down there. And so when I look at this bracket, Virginia's got no chance. Zero. I don't, to be honest with you, I think Miami, Ohio wins against SMU, ACC. And then whoever wins that next game is going to be Virginia. Again, it's like a pillow fight out there in the ACC. So I'm off the ACC train. When I look at a winner, I'm picking Michigan. Obviously, I'm a Michigan fan, but I also think they've been a dominant team throughout the year. LJ Kaysen, losing him, I think is going to show, and I think it's going to make games closer than they should be. But I see them coming out of this bracket. I look at Iowa State, they don't scare me. Like I said, Virginia is like a pillow fight. Alabama's without Holloway, and then Texas Tech has no Toppin. And so just looking down that list, I don't see a team that Michigan doesn't beat. And so I got them to win it all, and I'll package up my player in that deal. It's Yaxel. He's an absolute beast. He got named to a first-team All-American today. He's a bucket. He's a competitor. When it matters, he's going to be there. He was Big Ten Player of the Year. And so I just think he's the man to look at. He's the man to watch here. And then, moving into upset, I thought about this one for a while. I thought Wright State because, again, I looked straight for ACC. But, I couldn't even do it because Wright State is not good. But I'm going with the Akron Zips. Now, let me tell you, this Akron Zip team lets it fly. Their coach came out in a press conference, and he was like, I forget what the question was, but he was just talking about, oh, yeah, we're going to shoot. That's all they're going to do. And so they can let it fly, and if they get hot, I don't think Texas Tech can keep up with them. And obviously without Toppin, I just think they're hurt, and it stinks because they were a good team. And then I have them also beating Alabama in the next round with Holloway out. So look for the Zips in the old Sweet 16. And so that's my upset, and that's also my dark horse for this bracket. I'll give you a name to watch for. Tavari Johnson plays for the Zips, 20 points a game. He shoots over 50% from the field and over 37 from three. So you want to look for a guy who might take over against some of these big schools. I think it's him, and I think it's the Akron Zips.
I will say that I definitely I struggle with the 5-12s this year. There's always one, and it's just the region that I happen to fill out last. And I like all the 5 seeds a little bit more in Texas Tech, especially without JT Toppin. So I also picked the Akron Zips. One thing I did not mention. So.
Yeah. All right. I guess I'll finish this up here in the Midwest. I have Michigan coming out of this region. I just think top to bottom, they're still the best team in this region. Iowa State scares me. Virginia's style is a little bit scary to me. But I honestly think that Iowa State's kind of an issue for Virginia. So I think Virginia gets stopped there. I think Iowa State has showed to be neutral court winners and home court winners. So I think they get it done there. But I think Michigan gets it done. The loss of education really stinks. I think up until that point, they were the best team in the country. I think they had the full 8-man rotation, just about everything going. But what's going on with Liam over here?
I don't know. We got some technical difficulties.
I don't know. What's going on. There we go.
There we go. He's back.
I took my AirPod out. Just screwed everything up. It's my bad.
Figure he's an ACC guy.
Like I was saying, I still like Michigan out of this region, but I am really nervous about their guard play. Namari Burnett continues to get worse as the season goes along somehow. He's 24 years old and continues to get worse. I think Trey McKinney is going to be the X factor for Michigan. I think he's got it in him. He's shown flashes, and I think he can help stabilize that backcourt. I think Cadeau will be serviceable enough, and I think Yaxel is just the ultimate competitor. And like when they get down and he needs to take over, I mean his quad 1 to like quad 2 through 4, like you can tell he's just a big game player. And so that gives me promise for them to get out of there. Upset watch, we all talked about it. I'll keep it short. Alabama, like I think they've had such a crazy year, and now to lose Holloway like that, like I could easily see them just laying an egg and Hofstra beating them. Akron too, but I think going into my player to watch, I think Christian Anderson is just like he's got the ability to take over and kind of weather that storm. Watts has also been coming on with the disappearance.
He's been playing well.
Since Toppin went down. And so I think that's going to be an awesome game, but I think they'll be able to get it done. I actually have them going to the Sweet 16. I like their coach. I like how they play. Their ability to like trap the ball handler and just play kind of relentless defense, I think will be able to protect them until they run into a team like Michigan. So that's what I got. Dark horse, I could see Hofstra or Akron, kind of like what we talked about. That whole 4, 5, 12, 13 group, something weird's going to happen in that bracket. So, but yeah, I got Michigan coming out of the Midwest. That's about it. Christian Anderson, former Michigan commit too. So hopefully that's not a get-back game.
One thing I will say is Big Ten still has not won a national championship since 2000. So
it's going to end. It's going to end this year, which is, Liam, you're a great guest to have. You just led me right into the final one, which is make your picks, Final Four, national championship. I'm going to start. I had UConn coming out. I had Houston coming out, and those two will play. And I got Houston winning that game. Again, I think they got the fire in them. I think they got the guard play. I think that's just going to be it's going to be like 45-51. Like, it's just going to be an absolute beat-up, grind, foul, hack fest, the whole thing. So that's just going to be an absolute gauntlet of a game. And then I got the Gonzaga-Michigan rematch after Michigan beat them by 40 early in the year in the Final Four. And I think it's going to repeat itself. I don't think the Zags have a chance. I think they're going to be riding high off a couple big wins in their region. But I think Michigan wins that game by double digits, which sets up for a Houston-Michigan national championship. And I'll give you the two stories coming out of March Madness this year. One is Houston loses back-to-back national championships. And two is the Big Ten breaks that curse. And I think it happens in this game. I think Michigan takes control of the game early. I think they're physical. I don't think Houston can guard them underneath, to be honest. And I just think they're going to play through Yaxel. They're going to play through Merez Johnson, Mara. Like, I just don't think Michigan is going to lose, to be honest. I think they have the team for it. They have the coach for it. Dusty May is an absolute dog. So I think those are the two stories coming out of March Madness. Houston loses back-to-back, and the Big Ten wins a national championship. We're gonna go with Liam next. We're gonna let Liam get in here.
All right, I'll even go a little step back. I'll give you my Elite Eight here.
Okay.
In the
I
East,
like it.
I got Duke over UConn. As much as I think that UConn could lose in that second round against UCLA, if that matchup ends up happening, I think that UConn is just too strong for that for UCLA or UCF, whoever comes out. And I think Michigan State will end up struggling in this tournament just because they can't score. That's basically it. And then Florida against Houston, I have Houston coming out against. I have Houston winning that rematch. And then in my West region, I have Arkansas and Purdue, and I have Purdue winning that matchup. And then in the Midwest, I have Michigan versus Virginia. And like I said, I have Virginia winning that matchup.
Oh.
And then for my Final Four, I have Duke over Houston, which is another rematch of the Final Four last year. Duke would look forward to that matchup. I think even though the team is a little bit different, they have continuity in that roster. Caleb Foster was there, Gongo was there, Isaiah Evans was there. They know what it takes to beat that Houston team. And I think this Houston team is a little bit different than the one that was in the Final Four last year. And then I have Purdue over Virginia. And then for my final, I think Duke has been the best team all year, and they'll win it all in Indianapolis. And I can't wait. I can't wait to see it happen. John Shire, I've had a framed picture of him in my room since I was about, 7 years old. He was my favorite player when I was growing up on those Duke teams.
Nice.
Won a national championship as a player. He's going to get his first as a coach, and I think that Cam Boozer is going to cement himself as the best one and done since Anthony Davis.
Wow.
And that's my take for the tournament.
Those are your stories. Those are your stories coming out of March. All right.
Yeah. So I also have the Duke Houston rematch in the Final Four, and I think, like Liam, I think Duke comes out. They got the better player. I think Shire is the best coach in college basketball right now, and I think that they get it done there. Pending, I really wish I could see Caleb Foster's availability because it really does scare me in March not having him around. So I honestly could still change this by the time we get going on Thursday at noon. But for right now, I have Duke over Houston in the rematch. And then I'm going to break my own heart. I have Arizona over Michigan in the Final Four. Thought Michigan was the best team all year up until LJ Kaysen tore his ACL. I just don't think that their backcourt is good enough to win a national championship without Kaysen. With Kaysen, they were. Without Kaysen, I just don't think they are, even with their front line. They can't throw up their death lineup with Johnston, Yaxel, Kaysen, Cadeau, and McKinney. And I think that really is going to exploit itself when they play Arizona, who arguably has one of the best backcourts in the country with Burries and Bradley. So I have Arizona, and then I have Arizona beating Duke in the national championship. I think Arizona's risen to the moment all year. I've I've lost plenty of bracket challenges hitching my trailer to Arizona, so I'm willing to do it again. But I think this is the year they get over the hump. I'm a little nervous that they have three freshmen that all contribute. I mean, there could be obviously three of their four best players. But I just, watching them throughout the year, I came in the bracket thinking I got to pick Arizona. I think they're the best team now that Kaysen's hurt. So that's my pick. Subject to change, but we're going to the Wildcats.
All right. I like it. And I just want to reiterate, Nebraska is a guarantee. If my viewers need something to hitch their wagon on, Nebraska over Troy is a guarantee.
Yeah, I'm not saying they're gonna get upset. I'm just putting them on watch. Like the eyeball emojis in the chat for Nebraska. I'm gonna still pick them, but I mean, watch out. They're not the most historic basketball program. So,
Liam, you got any closing comments on your ACC?
I
know they took a lot of slander.
I think that they're going to get 2 teams into the Final Four, and I think that
Whoa.
the Big Ten will have 0.
Wow.
Never mind. They'll have
Wait,
1.
you have Purdue.
Because Purdue will
Yeah.
get there. That's my bad. And I think that the ACC is going to come out victorious in this tournament, and I think they're going to do a lot better than people give them credit for. And although SEC and the Big Ten have been better in the previous 2 or 3 years, I think that the ACC is really, really good this year. As much as I don't like Louisville or I don't like UNC at that 6th seed spot, especially if Louisville doesn't have Mikel Brown Jr. That's another thing that we did not mention. If that's not the case, then I think USF rolls in that game.
Yeah.
But I think that the ACC is going to have some strong performances throughout this tournament, and I think that we just have to wait and see what happens this weekend.
We're going to have to see. We're going to have to revisit that ACC. And then I had to throw this in there because this team didn't even get a mention, and I think it's a crime. Illinois is a very solid team. Wagler, the point guard, is a bucket. And then they got all these like Isevic, Ucevic, all these guys that can just shoot from anywhere.
Stojakovic.
Yep, they all got all the itches. So I think that Illinois could also knock off Houston if it makes it to that in the Sweet 16. So I'm just throwing that in there. I have Houston to win, but I just thought they deserved a mention there. I think the Big Ten's good, and I think they're going to show it.
All I'll say is Troy and Nebraska are the second game on Thursday, and I will have my eyes glued to that game.
Oh my goodness.
We're starting
You're
off
in
with a
trouble.
bang, Nebraska.
You-
Not worried. Not for a second.
All right.
But yeah, that's all I got, guys. Liam, thanks for coming on. It was great having you for a first-time appearance here. We might have to do a recap on March Madness maybe and see you on again. Noah, as always, great having you. It was a fun one. Lots of interesting picks in there, and we're going to see how they pan out.
Go Troy.
So
Go
yeah,
Troy.
right.
Thanks for having me. Appreciate it. Let's do it again next week.
Sounds good. All right. And to the viewers, as always, thanks for listening. A little longer one today, a little more factual and a little more statistical, but it's going to be good. Get ready for March. Find your place on the couch now and don't move. Look out for Nebraska and go blue. Thanks for listening.